What is happening? Hope that you're well. Hope that you're well. And a lot of people say that meditation is difficult for them, right? And the reason that I often hear for that, almost always, is that they can't stop thinking. They can't clear their mind. And so if if meditation is difficult for you because you can't stop thinking or you can't clear your mind, I have something I want you to try. I want to invite you to try. I mean, it's up to you, of course, but this is what I suggest. It is a misconception, first of all, that you have to stop thinking to meditate or that you have to clear your mind to meditate. In meditation, you are unfolding, you are opening to a deeper, truer part of yourself than the thinking mind. It doesn't mean the thinking mind will disappear immediately. Okay, does that make sense? You're opening to a deeper part of yourself, a truer part of yourself than the thinking mind. It doesn't mean the thinking mind will disappear instantly. Okay. So this is a therapeutic way of practicing meditation that I recommend and teach. And there are more advanced elements to it, but the basic practice of it is to keep coming back to your breathing. So you take a conscious breath. You become aware of your breathing somehow. The belly rising and falling when you breathe, the breath coming in your nose or out your mouth, some physical way of anchoring awareness on your breathing. Add a mantra to that. The mantra could be as simple as just saying breathing in and breathing out. As you breathe in and breathe out, just noticing. Or rising and falling. Your belly rises and falls, rises with the in breath, falls with the out breath. Okay? So keep coming back to that. And you say, but I can't stop thinking. I keep getting lost in my thoughts, and I'm not saying rising and falling. I'm not saying breathing in, breathing out to myself. I'm not noticing my breath. Right. That's what's going to happen when you sit down to be present. It's funny, right? How hard it is for us to just be aware presently with something we choose to. But no, I invite you to actually notice that. Just sit down and attempt to just focus your awareness on breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, one breath at a time. See how many breaths it is, or even count your breaths. See how many breaths you can count before you're not counting breaths. I bet you won't even get to 10 before you're like I'm going to count 10 breaths, right? And you'll miss some breaths. You'll be off somewhere in your thinking mind, okay? And so the meditation is just to come back to it. Just come back to the breathing. And that's the meditation practice. Now there's different discussions that people have over the definition of meditation. One might say, in a yogic sense, you might say this breathing practice is actually preparing to meditate. And if that's the case, then we spend lots of people spend years of their life preparing to meditate because it cultivates presence, right? And so then there are deeper practices. There are practices where you let go of the breathing and you just be in the presence. And I actually invite you to do that. If you find that this sort of state of consciousness takes you and you're no longer thinking about the breathing, that's okay. There's all kinds of things that can happen. Sometimes your breathing might slow way, way, way down, and you'll find this beautiful state of consciousness in the space in between your breaths. And then some people say, well, that's what meditation actually is. But it's all practice. It's all the practice of meditation. And in the therapeutic sense, I love this coming back again and again to breathing. Forgiving yourself for getting distracted is a wonderful practice. Forgiving yourself for whatever's on your mind. There's nothing to forgive yourself for. It's just you having an experience, right? But it's a great practice. And then I take it with me throughout the day, right? Every once in a while, I notice myself caught up in something. I'm in some trip, some predicament, some personality thing, some thought pattern, some desire pattern. And I notice, I remember breathing in, breathing out. And that's like my energetic reboot throughout the day. And I cultivated that over the years because I had trouble meditating. And so I practiced different mindfulness techniques that I learned, different ways of returning to my breathing over and over throughout my daily life until I did it. I was doing it all the time, so much that then when I sit down, that's all that's required. And then I'm meditating practically. And there's times where I have to remind myself again to do that more often. You may hear a goat or two in the background. There's Mouse. I don't know if you can see her. I can see her back behind me. She's kind of back in the distance and behind some bushes. And then right there is Pan, the brown goat. I'm pointing right at her. I don't know if she kind of blends in, depending on how big your screen is. But Pan's the mama, Mouse is her kid, the gray one, who I don't think you can see, but you might have heard her a moment ago. Anyway, goats are back there behind me grazing, and now I've been talking about that for a moment, and now back to breathing. But if you feel stuck in meditation because you can't stop thinking, it can be really liberating, I think, really freeing to just don't worry about that. Let yourself think. Just be with your thoughts, in fact. Bring as much presence to whatever's happening and you'll be doing the practice. And breathe into it. You can even kind of lean forward, breathe into what's happening in your experiential kind of field of awareness. So, and what's going to come up is maybe important. I mean, maybe that's exactly what needs to be happening. Like I was saying, if you feel stuck, for example, if you feel stuck when this happens, maybe there's some stuckness that um, is needing to be processed in your awareness, right? Maybe there's this inner radar that you have. There's an inner radar, and when you sit down and you start breathing, you have this intention to connect with yourself, your deeper, truer self, and your source of spiritual inspiration, all of that. There's this unconscious process that starts happening. And so every time you sit down and do it, you just feel stuck and you just feel like you can't do it. Well, is there some stuckness in your life somewhere? I mean, is that just because you're sitting down to meditate? Is there depression? Is there anxiety in your life? I mean, for most people, probably yes, right? And so those different energies can manifest in different things that come up in your meditation. And that's one reason I say, hey, keep a journal. This is like a therapeutic way of meditating. Keep a journal next to you. And if there's something that just keeps coming up and coming up, go ahead and take a pause and write it out. And then, come back to the practice. If you run out of time, you know, do it again the next day or at another time. This is practice, meditation practice, therapeutic meditation practice. I mean, this isn't the practice. This is me talking about it, but this is what I'm talking about. It's a therapeutic meditation practice, not to mistake it. Okay. And you can, in some of my content online, various places, you can, there's a basic practice that I'll take you through. Okay. And then if you decide to work with me, then we can do and more practices, more advanced practices. But just this, the breathing can take you a long way. It's kind of a slow route, right? It takes patience, but it can take you a long way. And when we start to do some of the other breath work practices and presence practices and energetic practices, then if you've been doing this breathing, practicing this breathing, it'll deepen it. It'll synergize with it. All right. So I hope that's helpful in some way. I'm Tom Kirkham. If I haven't introduced myself already, I'm on Big Island, Hawaii, and I'm a mental health counselor here on the island, and I specialize in integrative health, consciousness, spirituality, and integrative health. And I'm a doctoral student in psychology. So I'll eventually be a clinical psychologist. My specialization will still remain as consciousness, spirituality, and integrative health. I work with a really broad range of people and things that people are going through here in person, addiction, trauma, depression, anxiety, all kinds of things. But anyway, um, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I would love to um, hear from you privately if you don't want to comment publicly. You can find me through the links. Contact me through my website, oneloveheals.com, ONELOVEHEALS.com. And so not to slip into advertising or anything, but just that's a little bit about who I am and what I do in the world and what I'm doing here. So feel free to contact me if you're interested to learn more. And I hope to see you on the next video.